It all began the week I moved into my new place. I had pinched pennies for years, skipped vacations, and lived cheaply just to afford a place of my own. When I finally signed the papers, it felt unreal. The apartment was perfect, quiet, cozy, and best of all, it came with a private pool tucked neatly behind the house. That first night, I slept like royalty, convinced I had just made the smartest decision of my life. That illusion shattered the very next morning. I was ripped out of my sleep by loud splashing, shrill laughter, and music thumping through the air. Confused and still half asleep, I stepped into my backyard and froze. My pool had turned into a full-blown party. 3 women were stretched out on my lounge chairs like they owned the place. A Bluetooth speaker blasted music, colorful floats bounced across the water, and not a single one of them looked surprised to see me. Welcome Tummy channel, make sure to like and subscribe for premium HOA drama. At the center of it all was Karen. I didn't know her then, but I would soon learn she was infamous in the neighborhood. A woman known for her bossy streak, her sense of entitlement, and her uncanny ability to twist HOA rules to suit her needs. She wore a wide straw sun hat, oversized sunglasses, and carried herself with that unmistakable, "This neighborhood belongs to me" confidence. I told them firmly that they needed to leave. I explained they were trespassing on private property. Karen barely reacted. She didn't even turn fully toward me. Instead, she tilted her head slightly and asked, "Who are you?" As if I was the one intruding. I told her plainly that I was the new homeowner. She laughed, a sharp, dismissive scoff, and claimed she hadn't heard anything about a sale. According to her, she had connections with the realtor and would have known if the house had changed hands. I repeated myself, slower this time, making it absolutely clear that she had no permission to be there. I warned her not to return. That's when she stood up, water dripping from her arms onto my deck, and gave me a tight, calculated smile. "We'll see about that," she said, before herding her friends out through the gate as she owned it. That night, I sat in my living room, staring out the window at my pool, a knot forming in my stomach. I wondered if moving here had been a huge mistake. I didn't yet understand just how deep Karen's entitlement went, but the way she said those words, "We'll see about that," told me this wasn't over. My instincts were right. In the days that followed, her presence lingered, sometimes figuratively, sometimes literally right there by my pool, uninvited. Before we dive deeper, tell us in the comments where you're watching this story from. The very next day after our confrontation, I decided to respond calmly and legally, at least at first. I installed security cameras with wide-angle lenses that covered every corner of my backyard, especially the pool area. I also put up bright yellow private property no trespassing signs along the fence and near the gate. The message was unmistakable. This wasn't just aimed at Karen, it was for anyone who thought my home was some kind of public resort. I assumed that clear signs and visible cameras would do the trick. I was wrong. Karen treated rules like polite suggestions meant for everyone else. The camera footage told the real story. Every time I left for work, there she was. Sometimes alone, stretched out in my chair as if it were hers. Other times, she arrived with friends, snacks, and even a massive inflatable swan. Definitely hadn't bought. What bothered me most was how she got in. She always used the back gate, and the lock was never damaged. That's when it clicked. She must have had a copied key from the previous owner. Frustrated and running out of patience, I went to the HOA president, hoping for support. That turned out to be a terrible decision. She listened with a bored look, then shrugged and said there wasn't much she could do. It didn't take long to learn why she and Karen were close friends. Suddenly, the dismissive attitude made perfect sense. That was the moment I realized I was on my own. If Karen was going to be kept out of my pool for good, it would be up to me. That's when I called a close friend of mine, a chemist. I laid everything out for him. Karen's constant trespassing, her confidence, and most importantly, her obsession with appearances. I told him I wanted the next unauthorized pool party to be one she'd never forget. He was curious, but I needed more information first. As I reviewed the camera footage again, I noticed something critical. Before every swim, Karen spent several minutes coating herself in the same expensive, high-end sunscreen. Every single time. That was my opening. I explained to my friend exactly what I needed: something completely harmless to people, but capable of reacting dramatically with that specific sunscreen. When he finally handed me a small, sealed container with the finished product inside, I handled it like it was priceless. He promised me it was completely harmless for anyone who wasn't wearing that specific sunscreen, but would trigger an obvious, unmistakable reaction for anyone who was. To be absolutely sure, tested it first. I mixed a small amount in a bucket of water and added a dab of the sunscreen. At first, nothing happened. Then, slowly, the water began to change. Within minutes, it turned a deep, unnatural green, and the sunscreen itself went even darker. I stared at it, then laughed under my breath. This was going to be perfect. The day I'd been waiting for arrived quickly. I woke up earlier than usual, scrubbed the pool until it sparkled, and carefully poured in the chemical using exact measurements. The water looked pristine, crystal clear, almost unreal, like something from a high-end resort brochure. It was bait, plain and simple, irresistible bait. The sun was blazing, the sky completely clear, and I could practically feel Karen's entitlement radar locking in on the perfect swimming conditions. Right on schedule, just before midday, my phone buzzed with a motion alert from the backyard camera. I opened the live feed, and there they were. Karen and two of her friends, each of them slathered in the same thick layer of glossy sunscreen, were shining under the sun. Karen strutted in like she owned the place, tossed her hat onto one of my chairs, kicked off her sandals, and dove straight into the pool. Her friends followed, laughing and splashing as if they were at their own private resort. For the first few minutes, everything seemed normal. Then it began. Karen noticed it first. She froze mid-stroke, looked down at her arms, and let out a sharp, panicked scream. Green patches were spreading fast, crawling up her skin, staining her shoulders, her neck, her face. Her friends looked at her, then at themselves, and the backyard exploded into chaos. Their screams overlapped as they thrashed toward the edge, slipping over each other in a wet, frantic scramble to escape the water. Karen was shrieking at the top of her lungs, accusing me of pouring acid into the pool. They staggered toward the chairs, grabbing towels and phones in a moment of pure, desperate stupidity. Karen hit record and launched into a furious rant, screaming into her phone about how I had poisoned her. She posted the video immediately, clearly expecting outrage and sympathy. The internet had other ideas. Within hours, the clip was everywhere, shared, edited, slowed down, and turned into memes. My personal favorite was titled "The Incredible Sulk." By the time I got home that afternoon, the entire neighborhood already knew what had happened. Karen was pacing up and down my driveway like a radioactive Hulk in flip-flops, still blotched with that swampy green color. I smelled her before I reached the gate. The reaction between the chemical and her sunscreen had produced a stench somewhere between rotten eggs and burnt plastic. Neighbors gathered at a cautious distance, some pretending to check their mail, others openly filming. The second she saw me, she stormed forward, stabbing a finger inches from my face and yelling loud enough to shake windows. "You'll pay for this. You think you can humiliate me?" I calmly pulled out my phone, hit record, and smiled. "Say that again for the camera, Karen." That only made her explode louder. One of her friends, still faintly green, tried to hide behind her, but the crowd was already laughing. Across the street, the HOA president showed up, probably hoping to regain control of the situation. It didn't work. Karen started screaming about lawsuits, chemical burns, and how she was going to sue me into homelessness. The HOA president's face looked like she regretted every life choice that led her there. 2 days later, Karen followed through on her threat. She marched into the police station ranting about chemical assault and attempted murder. Unfortunately for her, the officers had already seen the videos and, more importantly, my security footage of her trespassing again and again. They confirmed the pool additive was safe, legally approved, and harmless unless mixed with her specific sunscreen. The final blow? She admitted on record that she had been using my pool without permission. Case dismissed. The fallout was brutal. The HOA scrambled to distance itself from her, but the memes wouldn't die. Local teenagers started calling her Shrek's cousin at the grocery store. Even weeks later, faint green stains still lingered on her elbows. She never came near my pool again, and my backyard finally became the peaceful oasis I had worked so hard to buy. That weekend, I floated alone in my pool, drink in hand, replaying the exact moment her face went pale as the green spread across her skin. Justice hadn't just been served, it had been served poolside, with the heavy side of humiliation. The end. Please like and subscribe for more HOA showdowns like this. Do you think she got what she deserved? Let us know in the comments.